The bells are still ringing. Simple that a quorum is yet to be formed, and it is a requirement that 1/3 of the total number of members of Parliament has to be present before business is called to order. So for now, the bells are ringing, calling for the members to come back to the House for business of the House to continue.
Still to come is a consideration of the Lands Tribunal Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 6 of 2024 at second reading stage. We also have the Matrimonial Causes Bill, National Assembly Bill number 5 of 2024, which is coming up at third reading stage.
And also expected is consideration of the supplementary estimates of expenditure number 1 of 2022. This is following the Minister of Finance supplementary budget, which is presented to the House on Friday 5th July 2024. And for now, we go back to the floor of the House.
Order. When business was suspended, the House was considering the motion moved by the Honourable Member for Momba. When business was suspended, the House was considering the motion moved by the Honourable Member for Momba that this House adopts the report of the Planning and Budgeting Committee on the consideration of the 2024 Annual Borrowing Plan Amendment for the third session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Friday, 5th July 2024. And the Honourable Member for Lunte was debating. May the Honourable Member continue.
Madam Speaker, as you suspended the House for a health break, I was just trying to drive a point for the Honourable Minister that for me, I don't want to sabotage his plan to borrow in order to pay debt. I have also observed that the entire supplementary budget is 70% going to debt service. Therefore, even the issue of talking about climate change and putting money into supporting vulnerables must be subordinated to the debt service, because this supplementary budget is basically just about debt service. Madam Speaker, I wanted to tell the Honourable Minister that he needed to be consistent in the manner he communicates these numbers. For example, the 6 billion local debt that he intends to borrow in 2024, according to the book, it is supplementing 16.3 billion net financing. Now, net financing and financing are not the same, because under net, you are considering borrowing and then netting off maturities. But in this one, you are just saying financing, and yet there is debt to be paid. Therefore, there is no consistency in the establishment of these numbers, and you are making it very difficult to achieve comparability. A government which promotes transparency must produce data that is comparable. This data is completely incomparable, and the minister needs to make sure that he produces, consistent data. But consistent not only in the numbers, but also inconsistent with policy. The Honourable Minister himself and the President gave us a policy of moratorium on debt. That is what was supported by the MP for Kalabo. This is what was supported by the MP for Mpika. Moratorium, stop borrowing. Go and make sure that these natural resources which are being plundered, the leakages which are causing illicit financial flows are plugged. Ensure that the maladministration of the government is plugged in all the 3 arms of government, the executive, the judiciary, as well as the legislature. All the maladministration is plugged, so that you come up with a budget which is supported by its own citizens in exploitation of the available resources. So this, Honorable Minister, this request to borrow 6 billion is inconsistent with your policy on moratorium. You may have to explain that. It is also inconsistent with the policy of the President on moratorium. But I looked at the 490 million that dollars that the minister wants to borrow. I said 490 million. If, for example, I use the 25 quarter or 26 quarter, 27 quarter, I came up with 12 billion, 12.7 billion, 13.2 billion. And then you add 6 billion to each of these numbers. Where do you go? You are going to 18.2 billion, 18.7 billion, 19.2 billion. And I do not see any figure which is tying with the 16.5 which the minister has put in the supplementary budget. Again, this mathematics, Madam Speaker, this mathematics can cost us, because you don't just dream numbers. You should be able to justify a rate that you have used. We know that the dollar has been moving between 24 and 28. If it goes to 28, an intervention is put in, it comes down to 24. A day later, 25, 26, 28, 29, it comes down. So these are the appropriate rates. So what rate was used for the minister to arrive at 16.5 billion as the total financing or total borrowing? You know, the 6 billion plus the 490 billion. I think that a clear explanation to the Zambian people is necessary so that we show that we are actually transparent and we are accountable to the people who put us where we are. Madam Speaker, I wish to support the minister's intention to borrow in order to pay debt. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Just before break, there were two indications, and I had planned the debate accordingly. So the people who have just indicated, unfortunately, you will not be considered. We have to make progress. So this will be followed by the Honorable Member for Nkana, and the last one will be the Honorable Member for Shiwangandu. Honorable Member for Nkana, please.
Madam Speaker, I want to thank you for this opportunity for me to make a few comments. My colleagues have said enough of what I would have wanted to say. And for the very first time, Madam Speaker, I want to confess that I am extremely bothered. Madam Speaker, I am bothered that the whole lot of us seated here, we set off from our homes dressed up in good suits, just to come and discuss this item. The Minister of Finance is asking us to support his intention to add more debt on what he had already borrowed for 2024. That is what we're basically doing. It's an addition to the debt that he had already asked us to borrow. Madam Speaker, there's nothing sinister in borrowing at a personal level, at a household level, at a business level, and certainly there's nothing sinister for a country to borrow. Very, economic giants in this world, the likes of the US, borrows. In fact, we are told the US owes China billions of dollars. In fact, trillions, I'm corrected, of dollars. So there's nothing sinister about borrowing. And certainly, when a country borrows like Zambia, there's nothing sinister. I want to believe that there's nothing wrong in Honorable Msokotwani coming to this house to ask us to support his intentions to borrow. Madam Speaker, when I listen to our colleagues seated on the right, they strike me as very intelligent people, especially when they castigate the people sitting on your left because of their insatiable appetite to borrow in the previous administration. They strike me as people who have got solutions, who will never take us.
Sorry, Honorable Member for Nkana. There is an indication for a point of order. Honorable Member for Luena, what's the point of order?
Madam Speaker, I was seated here listening to the Honorable Member for Nkana, who has a tendency of casting aspersions on fellow members of Parliament. Is the Honorable Member for Nkana in order to insinuate that when he looks at the members on your right, they look like they are intelligent people? Consequently, Madam Speaker, suggesting that notwithstanding, in his analysis, the opposite is true. Is the Honorable Member, who is Mukulusana, in order to talk about intelligence and the downers in this house, when we are talking about a government that borrowed 14 billion and one that's borrowing 1.6 billion, is he in order, Madam Speaker, to make such comparisons? 72.
Oh, the honorable members, we are not supposed to debate ourselves. However, the honorable member for Loina has not indicated which order, which standing order or rule has been breached. So, unfortunately, the point of order is not admitted. The honorable member for Nkana may continue, but please do not debate others. Stick to your debate. You may proceed.
Madam Speaker, these days, every other conversation we've had about the well-being of this country has unfortunately been reduced to a debate on issues of debt. No, you are seated on the left, you have no right to speak because you borrowed. I would have hoped that our colleagues who strikes me as people who have solutions would never ask this House to support them to borrow. Strange enough, Madam Speaker, the Minister of Finance comes to us to ask us to support him to borrow to go and service a debt. Madam Speaker, why do people borrow? People borrow when they don't have. And that is why I said in my preamble, borrowing is not wrong. People borrow when they don't have. The question I always ask myself, doesn't Zambia have enough that we must continue to borrow? Should Zambia be going to borrow to go and service another debt? Madam Speaker, this has bothered me. If the Minister of Finance had come to this House to suggest that we support him to borrow, to go and invest in harnessing a low-hanging fruit in the mining sector, Madam Speaker, I would not have hesitated to support him, because that would have given us revenues to pay. Madam Speaker, we are a country, sadly enough, that would line up intelligent people to go and celebrate debt restructuring. Madam Speaker, this is where we are now. Intelligent people dressed in suits are asking themselves to borrow to go and service another debt. Doesn't that sound strange to all of us? It's very strange to me, Madam Speaker, very strange that all of us to assemble dressed in suits to come and borrow in Congole to service in Congole, to borrow a debt to go and service another debt. It bothers me a lot, Madam Speaker. That is why today I'm very conflicted. Madam Speaker, this is what I would have expected. This government, a minister goes and makes a decision to allow $2.5 billion to fly out in Panama from the FQM. The case that was before the police, the minister decides to wash that case away. We lose $2.5 billion. Can you imagine what that $2.5 billion would have done to what we are dealing with today? Would the minister have come to borrow here? No, certainly not, Madam Speaker. The Ministry of Finance, there is a mining company that was owing $1 billion in taxes. The ministry makes to do a sweeping decision to only allow them to pay a meager, is it $30 million, $23 million. Madam Speaker, are we okay to be making those decisions? Are we certainly okay that we can now come and say, let's borrow, when we are allowing all that money to flow by? Yet we do understand when there's a report of FIC, it is as a result of such reckless decisions where we are allowing monies to just go like that, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, my colleagues have spoken about the wealth of minerals in many areas. Sujlight, doesn't it bother you, Madam Speaker, that the whole House here has never had a minister of mines comes to tell the nation what government is doing to harness that lucrative mineral? Today we are talking about going to borrow to pay Ngongole or to pay debts. Today, Madam Speaker, doesn't it bother you, Madam Speaker, that the country is amassed with gold resources, starting from Kasenseli all the way to Mpika, Shiwangandu, Lumezi, name them, Madam Speaker. These are minerals. Gold, for instance, Madam Speaker. Look at the price of gold on the international market and what gold would have done to us, Madam Speaker. Are we a country that should continue to sit dressed up in suits to be discussing how we should borrow to go and service a borrow? I am extremely ashamed, Madam Speaker. I am extremely bothered. I'm extremely baffled that we must be sitting here to be supporting the Minister of Finance, who is letting go of huge sums of money only to come and ask us to come and support him to borrow, to go and service another borrowing. Madam Speaker, that is unacceptable. And I do not want any day to hear our friends pointing fingers on the people on your left talking about debt when their insatiable appetite for borrowing is manifesting each and every year. They are borrowing each and every year, and the minister cannot even explain. I was listening to an interview one day where he was asked, how much have you borrowed? He couldn't even state. Dishonesty of the highest kind. Madam Speaker, I am extremely bothered and I want to sit. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
There is a point of order, an indication from the Honourable Member for Kalavo Central. What's the point of order, Honourable Member?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Order number 71. You know, I respect Honourable Mpundu very much. Very, very much. Madam Speaker, we are here because of the business of the House. That's why we are seated here. There's an order paper which has outlined the activities which should be undertaken for today. That's why we are here. Secondly, Madam Speaker, we cannot come here other than getting dressed. I'm sure, I don't know in what form the Honourable Member would want to see members here. I don't know. To me, I believe that we are supposed to be seated here, dressed. Now, Honourable Madam Speaker, is the Honourable Member from Ghana surely in order to indicate that we are here seated in suits without him indicating in what form he wanted us to be here? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much for that point of order. Definitely the Honourable Member from Ghana, if he was at all suggesting that Honourable members should come here other than dress in suits, then he was out of order. The accepted standard of dress in this House is a suit and is prescribed in our standing orders. So if he had appeared here in another form, he would not have definitely been allowed to debate, even to sit in the House. May the Honourable Member from Ghana continue.
No, I'm done, Madam Speaker.
Well, it's done. Honourable members, we have to make progress. I've seen that there has been indication, but I had said the Honourable Member for Shiwangandu will be the last one. The beauty is the Honourable Minister is going to respond. So let's not worry. The Honorable Member for Shiwangandu.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to make a few comments on the report.
Sorry, Honorable Member for Kafinsa and Lunte, you debated, and I'm sure you would want to hear the responses by the Honorable Minister. Unless it's so urgent that you cannot, but I would suggest that you wait until the Honorable Minister concludes, then you can go outside. May you please take your seat. May the Honorable Member for Shiwangandu continue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, thank you. I was just acknowledging the motion moved by Honorable Chatler to adopt the report from his committee. Madam Speaker, I think my colleagues have spoken a lot. We missed an opportunity to debate the whole entire supplementary budget. However, Madam Speaker, ministers of finance indeed come to borrow for a purpose. The Honorable Minister has come to borrow, just as his predecessors had been to this August House to do the same. Madam Speaker, I commend the Minister for apportioning some of the money to clear off the fuel arrears. There's been a lot of talk about this fuel arrears, Madam Speaker. We should remember, those who were here, Madam Speaker, that this date, this arrears started accruing at the most difficult time, just as we have the drought now. We had the COVID situation starting from 2018 all the way into 2021. And therefore, the economic activities of this country had almost come to a halt. And so, those who might not understand how those arrears accumulated without being serviced, now you should know. Because the same way the minister is now trying to realign his budget to pay to go to the drought is the same way we had to deal with that COVID situation. So I think when we are debating, let's not politicize these matters, because now we are coming to the reality of what happens with governance. Madam Speaker, I have no problem for the proposals made by the minister. We approved here for this fiscal year for him to go and borrow 16.3 billion, which was the maximum limit of the net domestic financing for this fiscal year. Out of that projection, Madam Speaker, here in your report, our committee is telling us that the minister has only been able to raise about 0.5 billion from the traditional government borrowing, which is bonds, treasury bills, referred to as government securities. 0.5 billion towards this 16.3 billion. What that tells, Madam Speaker, is that his ambition proposal to borrow an extra 6 billion, which will now go beyond that limit which was given in this fiscal year, and take it to about 22.3 billion. I'm saying ambition. How does he realize that? He's now going to the commercial banks. What does that do, Madam Speaker? It will crowd out the private sector, which is already stressed. Stressed because they have got load shedding. Their production has gone down. So those who would want to borrow to go into alternative sources of energy in order to sustain production are now not going to have where to go and borrow. Because at the same time, the cost of borrowing, Madam Speaker, will be very high. So we sympathize with the Honorable Minister. But to agree with the submission from Honorable Mpundu, from my previous work, we could have loved to see, Honorable Minister, what those people were forgiven for that criminal misconduct of trying to siphon $2.5 billion were going to contribute to your revenue basket. That's what we should have been saying here. You are going to get the government's expenditure reduced by 17.2 billion. What that it tells, Madam Speaker, is that the government functions are now going to be crippled. It's certainly painting a grim picture. His treasury bonds, his treasury bills and bonds are failed to perform. Why, Madam Speaker? The auctions cannot perform due to the rising tight liquidity conditions in the economy. Now, you are even making it difficult, Mr. Honorable Minister. You crowd out the private sector where you are supposed to generate revenue, and then your bonds are not going to perform. How is this even plan going to be realized? Just how? Because here you have come to say you have failed to raise the 6.3 because these bonds are not performing. As at end of March, like I said, Madam Speaker, they were only able to raise about 0.5 billion out of 16.3. We are in July. So these are the realities, Madam Speaker, and when we complain to say, look to the alternatives, because it is ingenious, like others are saying, to try and fix a debt by borrowing, whether cheaply or otherwise. The illicit financial flows, as reviewed by the FIC report, is pointing to tax evasion. People not paying tax, and these are the big people with connections. These are the people that are siphoning the money that should have gone to give revenue to the minister for his supplementary requirements.
Sorry, Honorable Member for Shiwangan, there is a point of order. Honorable Member for Kalomo Central, what's the point of order?
Madam Speaker, my point of order is premised on order number 71. The loans that were there were very expensive. The fuel loan that would remained when the PF left was about 800 million. And after $800 million, after a year, it was accumulating, it was almost doubling. And the government borrowed to clear expensive loans so that we could save money. For instance, if the loan was 100 million, the following year it would be 200. That was too much, and it was unsustainable. So the government borrowed cheaper loans to clear expensive loans. So my point of order, is it correct now for the Member of Parliament to come here and that we are borrowing to pay other loans again, when in actual sense, we are clearing expensive loans? Because the loans we are getting now are cheaper. So we are able to save the country's image. Is the member debating in order to mislead the nation on a very good purpose of trying to clear the expensive loans and bring in cheaper ones?
Order. I saw the Honorable Member for Kalomo Central had indicated to debate, but since I had said the Honorable Member for Shiwangandu, he took advantage through a point of order to debate through the back door. So the Honorable Minister will be able to respond, so don't worry. So the Honorable Member for Shiwangandu may proceed. He is in order to continue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's just augmenting my point, Madam Speaker, that we are contracting debt to clear debt. It's just augmenting my argument, so it's in line. Madam Speaker, I was saying tax evasion, politically exposed people who are engaged in these transactions. If we seal these loopholes, Honorable Minister, it will be easier for you to mobilize local revenue. Madam Speaker, he has projected to contract $914 million. Again, out of this, by end of March, he has only managed to get about 158. We are midway, we are past half the year. So it shows you the challenges he's facing, Madam Speaker. So, Honorable Minister, we have got no objection for you to borrow, because this is a normal way. But we have got concerns if you allow your counterpart to export maize which he had in stock. Now you have to find money in dollars to buy the same maize more expensive than it should have been for you if you had preserved. We lamented here because this climate change is well known to everyone now. And we knew we would end up where we have ended. So this kind of contracting debt to deal with issues that we should have avoided is what we have challenges with. Madam Speaker, we support him to continue borrowing because that's how it is. I thank you.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning will respond.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and I want to thank the committee for their report and indeed the whole House for the support that they've rendered. Let me make a number of comments and responses. Firstly, I'm happy, Madam Speaker, if you notice the past few days, there were a lot of stories coming from the PF side. The UPND government has borrowed $6 billion since the time they came into office. The matter has been clarified. There is no $6 billion that has been borrowed since coming into office. Rather, I think it's just part of the culture of the colleagues of just throwing things around, causing confusion and misleading themselves. I would request, Madam Speaker, and I'll come back to this point, colleagues invest in knowledge enhancement. Invest in knowledge enhancement, because when you don't have knowledge, you are a danger to yourself and a danger to the country. Madam Speaker, why are we borrowing? Why are we presenting a supplementary budget? We've said very clearly, number one, we have to respond to the drought. And there's money in the budget to respond to the drought. Secondly, Madam Speaker, the supplementary budget, because we have to borrow money, and part of this money, Madam Speaker, is to pay off the debt that our colleagues left behind. Madam Speaker, I'm shocked to hear somebody in this parliament saying you cannot borrow money to pay off a debt. This is really shocking, and this is why I feel that I think we all need to enhance our knowledge. Because borrowing cheap money to pay off expensive money, it is a very sensible thing to do. Whether you are talking about corporations, whether you are talking about governments, it makes perfect economic sense to borrow cheap and pay off the expensive debt. Madam Speaker, if even as an individual, I find myself, I borrowed money from a colleague who says every month the amount doubles. I lent you 100, next month pay 200, the other month pay 300. It makes sense for me to go and borrow from a brother at no interest rate, for example, pay off that. So how can anyone say that they are shocked to see money, cheap money being borrowed to pay off expensive money? Madam Speaker, let's enhance our knowledge in these things so that we stop being a danger to ourselves. Madam Speaker, indeed, a colleague there said, why is it that most of the money we are borrowing, we are paying off, we are not putting enough money on the drought relief. We will put some money on drought relief. But equally important, these debts, colleagues, that you left behind, the debts that you left behind, The external debt we had to restructure. The electricity that they imported from Mozambique, which they didn't pay. Now we're trying to go and buy electricity. The Mozambicans say, pay first the debts left behind. We have to pay that. How can you be surprised that we have to pay the electricity bills that were left behind? Yeah. Madam Speaker, the fuel that they were collecting and not paying, the fuel that they were collecting and not paying, expensive fuel, because every 4 years the bill doubles. Every 4 years the bill doubles. Now we pay that, they get surprised to say, why are you paying? Did we think that as a country, Madam Speaker, as a country, we have to get away from the habits that those colleagues left behind of borrowing and then wanting to hide. Borrowing and wanting to hide. You cannot hide. If you have borrowed, you must pay. Yeah. And now we are paying the debts that were left behind. Yeah. Madam Speaker, what remained on the debts actually is not just the debts from financial institutions. We know that a lot of arrears were left. As we speak every day, people are knocking at RDA, National Road Fund agents. We did roads, even though we can't see those roads, pay. Those are issues that the colleagues left behind there that we are still grappling. So next time when we come here and say we need to borrow money to pay off this, again they'll be surprised. Investment in knowledge, Madam Speaker, is very, very important. Madam Speaker, I hear colleagues saying that if you notice from the debate of most of the colleagues today, they are very happy to say that, oh, UPND is also borrowing. UPND is also borrowing, just like the way we used to borrow, isn't it? They are very happy to say, even you are borrowing. Madam Speaker, there's a difference between our borrowing and their borrowing. Madam Speaker, in dollar terms, they were borrowing 8%, 9%,
Order, Honorable Member from Nkana, you were given an opportunity to debate. The other members were listening. Please refrain from debating while seated. May the Minister continue.
Thank you, Madam. They were borrowing 8%, 9%, and 10%. Today, when we borrow from the IMF, we borrow at 0%. Yeah. When we borrow from the World Bank, we borrow at 0.5%, less than 1%. Yeah. Let's enhance knowledge so that you know that there's a difference in borrowing at 10% and borrowing at 0%. Madam Speaker, on top of that, there's a difference because we are no longer accumulating arrears. Madam Speaker, when we give a contract, we pay. So credibility to the government is coming back. Yeah. For the colleagues there, they would collect things all over the place and not pay back. Yeah. There's a difference. Madam Speaker, a colleague has been saying, why are you not doing something to collect more money from the mines so that you don't borrow, you pay? Madam Speaker, this is precisely what we are doing now. The concept of collecting money from the mines, you can see where it led us. The mine is closed. As we speak, those people, this PF government, they closed 2 of the biggest mining companies in the country. Madam Speaker, can you imagine a government which goes to collect debt all over the place, and then the source of foreign exchange which you are supposed to use to pay that debt, you are closing it? Enhance your knowledge, colleagues. enhance your knowledge so that you speak from knowledge. Because if you close mines and expect to get more money from the mines, then I don't know what is going in your mind. I don't know what is going in your mind. So now, the mines are reopening, the new ones are coming in, and we're on course to collect more money to pay off the debts and create the jobs. Finally, Madam Speaker, financial intelligence report. Madam Speaker, during their time, when the FIC report comes out, they would fire the chairman, they would fire the CEO, they would say, why are you releasing these things? Under this government, the chairman is there, the CEO is there, because we have nothing to hide.
May the Honorable Minister wind up.
They were firing chairman. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. Before we proceed, there are indications for points of order. We are supposed to be closing our debate. There are three. I'll pick one. Honorable member who started was Honorable member Fonkana. What was the point of order?
Madam Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 71, this August House provides a platform for factual submissions and reporting. Madam Speaker, for a very long time, the Honorable Minister of Finance has continued to skate around the issue of debt contraction. Precisely how much the UPND government has borrowed. On the floor, he has gone to castigate people that are making assumptions as to how much they've borrowed. He has failed to then state how much that they have borrowed. Is he in order, Madam Speaker, to waste this very golden opportunity to clear the air about how much UPND has borrowed and chooses to go and attack people that are merely making assumptions because of his having created a void and not feed the public with the truth? Madam Speaker, I seek your indulgence. Shouldn't the minister have taken this opportunity to tell the Zambians how much has he borrowed since UPND came into power? That is what the public wants to know. I seek your indulgence, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Since you are asking the Honorable Minister, I'll give him an opportunity to state that. The Honorable Minister.
Madam Speaker, I thank you. Madam Speaker, they were saying that we've borrowed 6 billion. 2021, we found the debt of 12.7 billion.
Oh, the honorable members, let's wait. You ask a question. Let's give the minister a chance.
12.7 billion US dollars. 2024, 14.6 billion. That is nothing compared to the 6 billion that they've been talking about. Madam Speaker.
So, well, maybe the honorable member Fonkana can visit the honorable minister to acquire some knowledge. Okay, let's conclude this item. The honorable member for Momba, winding up debate.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to wind up. I will not take long. Just to indicate, Madam Speaker, that this House, if there's something which we have benefited as a House, is the fact that this government brought on board the Public Debt Management Act. Issues of borrowing, Madam Speaker, from the previous governments were not discussed in this House. This is my second term as a Member of Parliament. It is only through the Honourable Minister of Finance bringing the first annual borrowing plan for 2023 where we discussed. And this is how it should be, because then you are promoting transparency and accountability. So on that score, Madam Speaker, I thought maybe it is important, especially for maybe my colleagues who are new in this House, to understand that, in fact, if we go this direction, then, Madam Speaker, we are on course. Coming, Madam Speaker, to the issue of how much the European government has borrowed, I didn't want to go that route. But on the report, Madam Speaker, from 2005, when there was that epic completion point, up to 2011, I think under MMD, they left about 500 million kwacha, sorry, dollars in terms of the debt. In 2021, and the report is there, we were sitting at $13.2 billion from 500. First quarter of 2024, Madam Speaker, we are at 14.7. So if you take those calculations, you will find that technically the European government has only borrowed 1.7 billion for 3 years. To answer that question, especially from one of the members of Parliament for Nkana. So I just want to, Madam Speaker, thank all the members who have debated, 9 of them. The Honourable Minister of Finance was the 10th. And thank you, colleagues, for your support. We are so grateful, Madam Speaker, as your committee to give us this opportunity to bring this report on the table of this House. I submit, Madam Speaker.
We need to conclude. I put the question. The question is that this House adopts the report of the Planning and Budgeting Committee on the consideration of the 2024 Annual Borrowing Plan Amendment for the third session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Friday, 5th July 2024. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The question is resolved in the affirmative. The clerk will now read the orders of the day.
The Lands Tribunal Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 6 of 2024, second reading.
The Honourable Minister of Lands and Natural Resources.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the bill be now read a second time.
The question is that the bill be now read a second time. Any debate? The Honourable Minister of Lands and Natural Resources.
Madam Speaker, I wish to thank you most sincerely for according me this honor and privilege to deliver the second reading of the Lands Tribunal Amendment Bill number 6 of 2024 before this August House. Madam Speaker, the Lands Tribunal was established under the Lands Act 1995 to provide for an alternative and cost-effective mechanism for resolving land disputes. The Land Tribunal is a formal legal body that resolves disputes related to land ownership, tenure, and usage. Its main functions are: 1, to hear cases on land disputes between individuals, organizations, or public entities. 2, resolve conflicts over land boundaries, titles, and ownership. 3, determine compensations for land acquisition or exploration. And 4, deal with issues related to land use, such as zoning and development. Madam Speaker, the Lands Tribunal Amendment Bill 2024 seeks to introduce provisions in the law that will enhance the operations of the Lands Tribunal. The bill, once enacted, shall facilitate the creation of registries in the provinces and districts. The bill herein shall enable litigants to file documents and court process in their respective provinces without having to travel to Lusaka. Currently, you may wish to note that the Lands Tribunal has offices and the registry only in Lusaka. Consequently, clients who need the services have to travel to Lusaka for filing of court processes. There is need to amend the Act in order to decentralize the services to other provinces in order to bring the services closer to the people. Madam Speaker, currently, appeals from the Lands Tribunal go to the High Court. However, in terms of jurisdiction, the Lands Tribunal hears similar land cases with the High Court. In addition, the Constitution of Zambia, Amendment Act number 2 of 2016, states that appeals from quasi-judicial bodies should go to the Court of Appeal. Article 131 sub of the Constitution reads, the Court of Appeal has jurisdiction to hear appeals from A, the High Court, B, other courts except for matters under the exclusive jurisdiction of the Constitutional Court, and C, quasi-judicial bodies except a local government elections tribunal. Therefore, the bill shall allow appeals from the tribunal, which is a quasi-judicial body, to proceed to the Court of Appeal, thereby making the Lands Tribunal Act to be in line with the provisions of the Constitution. Madam Speaker, the bill further seeks to create the position of Assistant Registrar. The Registrar has been for a long time the only qualified legal staff at the Tribunal. The bill shall allow for the creation of the position of Assistant Registrar and other support staff, such as court reporters who shall assist the Registrar in execution of Tribunal functions as prescribed in the Section 7.2 of the Lands Tribunal Act. Madam Speaker, these are just but a few highlights of the proposed bill. I seek the support of the members of the House. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further debate? The chairperson of the Committee on Agriculture, Lands and Natural Resources, the Honorable Member for Bwengwa.
Madam Speaker, in accordance with its terms of reference as provided for in Standing Order 209A and 2010 of the National Assembly of Zambia Standing Orders 2024, the committee was tasked to consider the Lands Tribunal Amendment Bill NAB number 6 of 2024, which was laid on the table of the House on 3rd July 2024. In order to acquaint itself with the ramifications of the bill, the committee sought both written and oral submissions from key stakeholders. Madam Speaker, from the outset, I want to state that most witnesses who appeared before the committee were in support of the bill. In this regard, allow me then, Madam Speaker, to highlight a few concerns raised on certain provisions of the bill. Madam Speaker, with a lot of humility, I'm confident that the members of this August House have read the committee's report. I will therefore only highlight a few issues that caught a committee's attention. Madam Speaker, firstly, I want to state that the committee commends the proposal to establish the principal registry and district registries and views it as a progressive step towards the decentralization of the Lands Tribunal. This will enhance speed access to justice in relation to land for the Zambian people in various concerns of the country. However, Madam Speaker, the committee does not support the proposal to authorize the chairperson to determine the location of the district registries, as these are directly linked to the access of justice for the Zambian people in relation to land disputes. In this regard, the committee recommends that the power to designate district registries should be preserved of the law and not the chairperson as proposed in the bill. Madam Speaker, another issue of concern to the committee is that the bill provides that the tribunal will be composed of not more than 3 members from the public and private sectors, of which 2 of whom shall be legal practitioners. Madam Speaker, you may wish to know that currently 4 legal practitioners are sitting on the tribunal. Therefore, the inclusion of 2 more legal practitioners will not be prudent, as this will reduce wider participation from other members of the public. In this vein, the committee recommends that individuals that are well vested in matters of land be included on the tribunal, as this will help the tribunal to have a better understanding of matters relating to land disputes when handling them. Thirdly, Madam Speaker, the committee notes that Section 6(5) of the bill empowers the tribunal with the authority to appoint other staff that the tribunal considers necessary for its effective performance. This is of particular concern to the committee because the tribunal does not have any human resource expertise to enable it to carry out such an important undertaking. Additionally, the tribunal does not have the mandate to appoint other staff, as this mandate belongs to the Judicial Service Commission. The committee is therefore of the considered view that the human resource function will only broaden the mandate of the tribunal, while to a certain extent neglecting its jurisdiction as provided for in Section 4 of the Principal Act to hear and determine land disputes. In view of this, Madam Speaker, the committee recommends that the proposal to allow the tribunal to hire staff be deleted from the bill, and for the power to appoint other staff as well as determination of conditions of service be vested in the Judicial Service Commission as provided in the Principal Act. Allow me to conclude, Madam Speaker, by stating that the committee supports the bill and therefore urges the House to take its recommendations into consideration as the bill is being debated. Finally, Madam Speaker, I wish to pay tribute to stakeholders who interacted with the committee. Gratitude also goes to you, Madam Speaker, and the Clerk of the National Assembly for the guidance and support rendered to the committee throughout its deliberations. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further debate in view of the time? Depending on honorable members' indication, any further debate? The honorable member for Kanchibia.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, allow us to debate in support of this very important bill, mindful of the role that the Lands Tribunal goes to play in the dispensation of justice insofar as land disputes are concerned. The Lands Tribunal Act, Madam Speaker, is clear with regard to the jurisdiction of this very important tribunal, and so the need for us to decentralize this tribunal is and cannot be overemphasized. I would give an example that as we treasure a resource called land, more realization, Madam Speaker, has come to the fore that there is value and a lot of interest that has been created in a country such as ours with vast areas of land. We have people being displaced. We have people being duped of their land.
we have people whose rights and interests in land would get thrown to the wind because they do not have the means to seek redress, traveling all the way from Kanchivia and come to Lusaka for them to be heard by a tribunal based in Lusaka. The need for us to have a tribunal at district level, Madam Speaker, becomes critical. And the more reason why some of us support this very important bill is because we have come to a realization as a nation that more value must be placed on land. More value must be placed on the administration of land. This particular bill, Madam Speaker, is non-controversial. This particular bill is in the direction we must be going as a country. The need for us to reinforce, strengthen the legal framework around land administration, around justice issues with regard to land, Madam Speaker, cannot be overemphasized. And so allow me, on behalf of the people of Kanchivia, to say that we support this particular bill in totality. And even in some of the peripheral issues the committee had with this particular bill, would wish to take great exception, because let us look at the bigger picture. Land administration as we know it today, and some of the peripheral issues and the reservations the committee would have, let us look at land administration in the next 10 years, 20 years. What type of a legal framework do we want to create around land administration, especially for those of our people who depend on the land tribunal to resolve conflicts as pertaining to land. Madam Speaker, with those few remarks, allow me to support this particular bill in totality. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, winding up debate.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. And I should thank the members of Parliament for silently supporting the bill. I just want to comment on one on the emoluments coming from the Judicial Commission. The Lands Tribunal belongs to the Ministry of Lands. It's an arm of the Ministry of Lands, and as such, the Emolument Commission, in consultation with the Minister, will be looking into these allowances. I should also thank Honorable Member for Kanchivia for his contributions. Indeed, this is the way the government has decided, and we have taken note of the committee's report. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. I put the question. The question is that the bill be now read a second time. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary say no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. The question is resolved in the affirmative. Let the bill be read a second time.
The Lands Tribunal Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 6 of 2024.
Committee stage to be taken when?
Madam Speaker, Tuesday, next Tuesday.
Committee stage to be taken on Tuesday next week. Next order.
The Matrimonial Causes Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 5 of 2024, third reading.
The Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the bill be now read the third time.
The question is that the bill be now read the third time. Any debate? Any objection? The question is agreed to. Let the bill be read the third time.
The Matrimonial Causes Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 5 of 2024.
Next order.
Supplementary Estimates of Expenditure number 1 of 2024, commencement of committee work.
The House will now resolve into committee.
Supplementary Estimates of Expenditure number 1 of 2024. Head 03, National Assembly, 5,360,033 kwacha. Honorable members, by practice, the House does not discuss its own budget. Therefore, I will right away put the question. I put the question. The question is that 5,360,033 kwacha be approved in respect of Head 03, National Assembly, as part of the Supplementary Estimates of Expenditure number 1 of 2024. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary say no. The ayes have it. 5,360,033 kwacha is approved in respect of Head 03, National Assembly, as part of the Supplementary Estimates of Expenditure number 1 of 2024. We now move to Head 12, Office of the Public Protector. Her Honor the Vice President.
Madam Chairperson, I beg to move that 1,850,163 kwacha be approved in respect of Head 12, Office of the Public Protector, as part of the Supplementary Estimates of Expenditure number 1 of 2024.
The question is that 1,850,163 kwacha be approved in respect of Head 12, Office of the Public Protector, as part of the Supplementary Estimates of Expenditure number 1 of 2024. Any debate? Honorable members, in line with Standing Order 171-4, debate on this motion shall be restricted to not more than one member from each political grouping. This procedure shall apply to all the heads. Any debate? I put the question. The question is that 1,850,163 kwacha be approved in respect of Head 12, Office of the Public Protector, as part of the Supplementary Estimates of Expenditure number 1 of 2024. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary say no. The ayes have it. 1,850,163 kwacha is approved in respect of Head 12, Office of the Public Protector, as part of the Supplementary Estimates of Expenditure number 1 of 2024. We now move to Head 17, Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation. The Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation.
Madam Chairperson, I beg to move that 418,679,000 be approved in respect of Head 17, Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, as part of the Supplementary Estimates of Expenditure number 1 of 2024.
The question is that 418,679,000 be approved in respect of Head 17, Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, as part of the Supplementary Estimates of Expenditure number 1 of 2024. Any debate? I see none. I put the question. The question is that 418,679,000 kwacha be approved in respect of Head 17, Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, as part of the Supplementary Estimates of Expenditure number 1 of 2024. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary, say no. The ayes have it. 418,679,000 kwacha is approved in respect of Head 17, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation as part of the Supplementary Estimates of Expenditure number 1 of 2024. We move to Head 21, Loans and Investments, Ministry of Finance and National Planning. The Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I beg to move that 17,916,983,000 be approved in respect of Head 21, Loans and Investment, Ministry of Finance and National Planning, as part of the Supplementary Estimates of Expenditure number 1 of 2024.
The question is that 17,916,983,000 kwacha be approved in respect of Head 21, Loans and Investments, Ministry of Finance and National Planning as part of the Supplementary Estimates of Expenditure number 1 of 2024. Any debate? I put the question. The question is that 17,916,983,000 kwacha be approved in respect of Head 21, Loans and Investments, Ministry of Finance and National Planning as part of the Supplementary Estimates of Expenditure number 1 of 2024. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary, say no. The ayes have it. 17,916,983,000 kwacha is approved in respect of Head 21, Loans and Investments, Ministry of Finance and National Planning as part of the Supplementary Estimates of Expenditure number 1 of 2024. We move to Head 29. Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. The Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Madam Chairperson, I beg to move that 2 billion be approved in respect of Head 29, Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development as part of the Supplementary Estimates of Expenditure number 1 of 2024.
The question is that 2 billion kwacha be approved in respect of Head 29, Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development as part of the Supplementary Estimates of Expenditure number 1 of 2024. Any debate? I put the question. The question is that 2 billion be approved in respect of Head 29, Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development as part of the Supplementary Estimates of Expenditure number 1 of 2024. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary say no. The ayes have it. 2 billion is approved in respect of Head 29, Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development as part of the Supplementary Estimates of Expenditure number 1 of 2024. We move to Head 35, Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprise Development. The Honorable Minister of Small and Medium Enterprise Development.
Madam Chairperson, I beg to move that 125,530,148 kwacha be approved in respect of Head 35, Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprise Development as part of the Supplementary Estimate of Expenditure number 1 of 2024.
The question is that 125,530,148 kwacha be approved in respect of Head 35, Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprise Development as part of the Supplementary Estimates of Expenditure number 1 of 2024. Any debate? I put the question. The question is that 125,530,148 kwacha be approved in respect of head 35, Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprise Development, as part of the supplementary estimates of expenditure number 1 of 2024. You should be quick to indicate. I put the question. The question is that 125,530,148 be approved in respect of head 35, Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprise Development, as part of the supplementary estimates of expenditure number 1 of 2024. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary say no. The ayes have it. 125,530,148 kwacha is approved in respect of head 35, Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprise Development, as part of the supplementary estimates of expenditure number 1 of 2024. Sorry. We move to head 45, Ministry of Community Development and Social Services. The Honorable Minister of Community Development and Social Services.
Madam Chairperson, I beg to move that 5,330,906,664 kwacha be approved in respect of head 45, Ministry of Community Development and Social Services, as part of the supplementary estimates of expenditure number 1 of 2024.
The question is that 5,330,906,664 kwacha be approved in respect of head 45, Ministry of Community Development and Social Services, as part of the supplementary estimates of expenditure number 1 of 2024. Any debate? I see none. I put the question. The question is that 5,330,906,664 kwacha be approved in respect of head 45, Ministry of Community Development and Social Services, as part of the supplementary estimates of expenditure number 1 of 2024. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary say no. The ayes have it. 5,330,906,664 kwacha is approved in respect of head 45, Ministry of Community Development and Social Services, as part of the supplementary estimates of expenditure number 1 of 2024. Head 52, Ministry of Water Development and Sanitation. The Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Madam Chairperson, I beg to move that 301,610,991 kwacha be approved in respect of head 52, Ministry of Water Development and Sanitation, as part of the supplementary estimates of expenditure number 1 of 2024.
The question is that 301,610,991 kwacha be approved in respect of head 52, Ministry of Water Development and Sanitation, as part of the supplementary estimates of expenditure number 1 of 2024. Any debate? Mr. Zulu.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chair, I support the the allocation of this money. But again, Madam Speaker, is that I'm not agreeing with the amount because some of the money we've given, for example, to the Ministry of Small Scale, there is no need at this hour, at this time when we've got so many problems, especially to do with water. The Ministry of Water needs enough money because today, especially, even members of on your right, Madam Speaker, those who are coming from the valleys, they will agree with me that their areas are dry and we need to do more and more deep bores. So my plea to the Ministry of Finance is that we need to add up some money on this supplementary budget amount we've given to the Ministry of Water so that we can do more water points, more water dams, and deep and more industrial bores. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Acting Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. And indeed, the concern raised are taken note, and they are very important. And we believe that these are the matters this government is putting in consideration, that water problems are addressed. We have taken note of such.
Mr. Mutaya Chalo.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. While agreeing with the allocation to this particular head, I also share similar concerns with my brother, Honorable Zulu. Madam Chairperson, the President has declared the drought situation as an emergency. So this means that even with the way we allocate resources to this particular head, I think it must be seen that the resources must be adequate and be able to deal with the challenges which our people are facing. If we have got more boreholes throughout the country, especially in rural areas, it means that our people are going to engage in irrigation, hence increasing food production. Now, when you increase by only 301, at a time when the President has declared the drought as a disaster, to me I feel that we are not doing it justice to this nation. Mr. Chairperson, I'm aware also that suppliers, the drillers, they have rejected the price which has been offered by the Ministry of Water and Sanitation in terms of drilling of boreholes. To them, they feel that the amount fall below the cost of drilling those boreholes. So there is a standoff at the moment. That's why even boreholes as far as 2022 have not even been drilled up to this time. So it's a quite sad development, and I think as a country we must deal with this particular matter so that our people are able to have access to water. And the Minister, we want to see to it that even the people are given these contracts to drill boreholes, we want serious contractors. At the moment, most of our local contractors are failing actually to meet their contractual obligations, and our people are crying out there that we are not doing much as a government to ensure that our people have access to safe drinking water. So with these few remarks, I believe that I think it is important that we need to increase the allocation looking at the magnitude of the drought we have in this country. I thank you.
The Acting Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Thank you very much. Indeed, issues of water are very important. Madam Chairperson, the assurance that I can give the honorable members is that this is the matter that has just not been, the government has just not come up with this figure. There's a lot of assessment that has been done in order to respond to the drought situations that are hit most of our farmers, and issues to do with irrigation. Those are the things that have been put as a priority. And also, I want to assure the honorable member that there's no rejection of drilling boreholes. Everything is on course, and very soon you will see that across the country, most of the areas that we feel we need to put the boreholes, the works will be commencing soon. So the assurance that I can give you is that there's no rejection to such. Those are just rumors. All the drillers, we are in discussion, and things are moving very well.
Thank you.
You can wind up. Thank you. I put the question. The question is that 301,610,991 be approved in respect of Head 52, Ministry of Water Development and Sanitation, as part of the supplementary estimates of expenditure number 1 of 2024. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary say no. The ayes have it. 301,610,991 kwacha is approved in respect of Head 52, Ministry of Water Development and Sanitation, as part of the supplementary estimates of expenditure number 1 of 2024. As the time is 18:26, I interrupt the proceedings and committee work stands adjourned. The Committee of Supply will report progress and ask leave to sit again. Madam Speaker, I have to report to the House that the Committee of Supply has considered supplementary estimates of expenditure number 1 of 2024 and has made progress and asked leave to sit again.
As the time is 18:25, is it?
For resumption.
Sorry, I thought you had finished committee work. Committee work to resume when?
Tomorrow, Madam Speaker.
Committee work to resume tomorrow. Her Honor the Vice President, adjournment.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the House do now adjourn.
As no notice of an item for debate on the motion of adjournment of the House has been received, I put the question. The question is that the House do now adjourn. Any debate? Any objection? The question is agreed to. The House? Is now adjourned.
Business that has been considered on the floor of the House starting at 14:30 hours. Madam Speaker did make 2 announcements. In the first one, she did recognize the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from St. Columbus Presbyterian School in Rhodes Park, Lusaka District. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, she warmly welcomed the visitors in our midst.
And after
the other announcement, Madam Speaker did recognize also in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from Wisdom Wood School in Charala, Lusaka District. She equally welcomed the visitors in our midst. So those are the 2 announcements that were delivered by Madam Speaker.
And after those 2 announcements, there was a ministerial statement that was rendered by the Minister of Health. And she updated the House on the implementation of the National Health Insurance Scheme. And in this statement, she updated the House on the implementation of the National Health Insurance Scheme, which has since April 2024 been reverted to the Ministry of Health in line with the government's agenda of strengthening health systems for enhanced health service delivery for all Zambians. The Minister updated the House on the current performance of the scheme in meeting with its objectives as per National Health Scheme, as per National Health Insurance Act No. 2 of 2018 and the reforms that are being embarked on to ensure that all Zambians are registered and that the scheme remains solvent in meeting its obligations.
And so the Minister went on to say that NIMA is a health financing modality aimed at ensuring that all Zambians, both those in formal employment and those in informal employment, have access to good quality healthcare without being exposed to financial hardships. As a compulsory health financing mechanism, the role of NIMA is to implement some of the following. That's to register all Zambians to become members of the scheme, to register all Zambians established residents to become members of the scheme, to collect membership contributions from registered members, and also to register healthcare providers, both public and private, where the NIMA registered members will access the services.
And the Minister went on to say that the current membership of NIMA is 4.6 million, which represents only 23% of the Zambian population. She said that government through the Ministry of Health was working with NIMA has embarked on a nationwide NIMA registration exercise, which was launched on Friday, 5th July 2024 in Ndola District. And she further went on to say that NIMA being a contributory scheme, its financial stability is a key importance for it to achieve its health financing objectives, and that since NIMA's return to the Ministry of Health, several policy reforms have been devised and are under implementation to keep its financial health in check. And among the key reforms, she mentioned as follows: 1, launching a mass registration exercise to cover the informal sector and extend the NIMA collection coverage wider.
And she also said revocation of accreditation for health facilities involved in health insurance fraud. This is to safeguard public funds and ensure value for money, and also reviewing the NIMA benefits package to ensure that only those services that are needed by the public are included. So those are some of the reforms that have been, done. And just to end, the Minister did re-emphasize some key points. Pauline?
And some of the key points that she re-emphasized included that NIMA being for every Zambian, therefore there was need for every Zambian to be registered as per law, and that NIMA services are not only for those who are working, everyone was included, and those in the informal sector must also be registered, and that they do not have to wait to get sick to register for NIMA. Everyone must register before they fall sick, and that NIMA services are free when they go to the hospital.
All right, so that's the ministerial statement that was delivered by the Minister of Health, Honorable Masebo, on the implementation of the National Health Insurance Scheme. After that ministerial statement, we did see Mr. Jatila move a motion urging the House to adopt the report of the Planning and Budgeting Committee on the consideration of the 2024 Annual Borrowing Plan Amendment for the third session of the 13th National Assembly laid on the table of the House on Friday, 5th July 2024, and this report was seconded by Mwense Member of Parliament, Mr. David Mavumba, and this report has since been adopted.
And after that report, the House also considered the Lands Tribunal Amendment Bill, and this is National Assembly Bill number 6 of 2024, and this was considered at committee, at rather second reading stage, and it's gone through this stage, so committee stage will be taken on Tuesday, 16th July 2024.
The other bill that was considered today was the Matrimonial Causes Bill, National Assembly Bill number 5 of 2024, and this bill was read the third time.
And after consideration of the two bills, the House resolved into Committee of Supply and commenced committee work on the supplementary estimates of expenditure number 1 of 2024, which was presented to the House by the Minister of Finance and National Planning, Dr. Stumbeko Musokotwane, on Friday, 5th July 2024.
All right, so just about now we'll go through some of the heads that have been considered and the estimated amounts of money that are expected to be allocated to these particular heads. We'll start with head 12, that's the Office of the Public Protector. The estimated expenditure for the Office of the Public Protector is 1,850,163 kwacha.
Also considered and approved as part of the supplementary estimate expenditure number 1 of 2024 is head 17, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, and a total amount of 418,679,000 has been approved.
Head 21, that's Loans and Investments, the total amount is 7,916,983,000 kwacha, stands part of the estimates.
And the head 29, Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, 2 billion has been approved.
And the monies that have been allocated to head 35, that's the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprise Development, is 125,530,148 kwacha.
And the Ministry of Community Development and Social Services has received an approval of 5,180 million kwacha.
And head 52, that was the last head that was considered for today, is the Ministry of Water Development and Sanitation, with the amount that has been approved, that's 301,610,991 kwacha. So that's head 52, Ministry of Water Development and Sanitation. And so committee work stands adjourned. Pauline.
Yes, so in total, Claudette, there were seven heads that have been approved, and the committee works continues tomorrow. So that has been business of the day today. And from all of us at Parliament Studios, we wish you a lovely evening. And remember to join us tomorrow.